So far, we haven't seen anyone up here. It would be Zach and Ken.
Is Tim, Tim Mayhew gonna join us from the
Tim
tree committee?
I'm sorry.
Tim Mayhew from the tree committee?
Oh, it's not Tim, it's his name.
Or what's his
Tyler.
name?
Close.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, you're being recorded and you're live on YouTube.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday, October 4th, Planning Commission of Harpers Ferry. And we have 5 of us at Town Hall. Everyone is present except for Zach Morris, who I understand is at Yellowstone right now, may have some problems with connectivity, and Ken Dill, who we haven't heard from. So, Paul, could I have you read the?
I can't without my glass.
Oh, okay.
Just here.
Oh, wait,
Yeah, just that
I
first
I
paragraph.
can see yours. I can't see mine. That's got a copy. Until further notice, the Corporation of Harpers Ferry's governing and deliberative bodies will hold meetings and or hearings virtually via Zoom webinar, which provides for public participation during a public comment or a public comment period when applicable and when posted in the agenda. Alternatively, the public may watch meetings by YouTube via live stream or listen by telephone. These options comply with the Open Governmental Meetings Act.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you for your time.
I wanted to ask you all on the agenda. I believe the bulk of our discussion is going to be on the comprehensive plan. I wondered how you all would feel about moving that to last and taking care of the reports and the tree discussion first.
Yes.
Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
Can you make a
Okay,
motion for that?
Can I have a motion with for that amendment?
I make a motion to hold the comprehensive plan discussions till later in the meeting and clear the rest of the agenda prior to that.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor? Indicate hands up. Okay. Passes unanimously. And as mentioned in some of the emails, we are unable to approve Paul's minutes in a special meeting for some reason. I don't quite understand that requirement of West Virginia, but here we are. So, Paul, at my request, circulated them because I thought his notes would be helpful for us. So thank you, Paul, for doing that. And we'll look at both those minutes and the minutes for tonight at our regular November meeting. So on the tree committee, we have this idea that was proposed by the town recorder and in an ordinance review committee to change the structure for the tree committee, take it out from the jurisdiction of the planning commission. He thought that, well, he related to me historically that the reason it landed there was that there were some people who were opposed to a tree committee in the beginning, and that this was kind of a compromise that I think there was a little fear that a tree committee was going to be telling folks what they could plant or chop down in their own yard and that kind of thing. And so it was a compromise. And I have put out the email inviting tree committee to this meeting, and I had no takers. Christy did respond to me saying that she would welcome the removal out from
Planning Commission.
Planning Commission.
That makes sense.
So, and I know Roberta had some concerns and you inserted a potential motion in the agenda. Now, I do want to alert everyone that anything that we decide as planning commission is only advisory. Any change to the present structure would require an ordinance change, first and second reading and passage by the town council. So Roberta, you have some comments then?
Yes, thank you, Chris. Roberta Mead Curry. Again, I put forward an agenda item request to discuss these issues. And one of the first items I wanted to hear from was the tree committee on why did they wish to be removed from the planning commission, underneath the planning commission, or working side by side with the planning commission. What is their wishes, desires, and feelings? So I think we do need to hear from them officially, not so much the town recorder. We need to hear from the tree committee. So I'd like to hold any real action until we hear from them officially. So that was my first thing. I want to hear firsthand what they feel the problems were. Second, the planning commission.
Why do you say that I don't think they address this as problems.
Well, that's why are they wanting to be removed then?
I
And I'm
think-
gonna, let me kind of go through this. And
Sure,
I'll
sure.
kind of, maybe I'll answer maybe your concerns. So wanted to know why they felt this way. Okay. Two, per Article 133 of the zoning code, the planning commission is responsible for the environs, anything in the environs in the jurisdiction of Harper's Ferry, and trees, urban forests, etc., falls under that definition of environs. And if you want me to officially read the definition of environs, I can do that. I have that here. Under Article 1104, the tree committee already acts quite independently. So why do they feel they need more independence? So that's why I was questioning, why do they feel they need more independence? So according to 1104, they only have to appear before the planning commission twice. Once a year to present the tree plan, what they want to do, to the environs, what they want to do to the urban forest, what their intent is for the next year out. Okay, and we have to review that, approve it, bless it, make a motion to approve it. And then we make that recommendation to town council. So that's their first appearance on an annual basis with us. The only other time they have to appear with us is when they have an issue that might be changing the comprehensive plan, or that what they're proposing to us in their new update plan doesn't align with the comprehensive plan. So if nothing changes in the comprehensive plan per what they're presenting to us annually, then we don't even need to see them for that.
Mhm.
So then if that happens, then they're only seeing us once a year to review the plan, review what they've got to get done. And we give them either advice, add some comments to their tree plan or specifications or what have you. They shouldn't feel that we're in opposition to them. We are helping them. We are improving them. We're maybe helping some of the language get better, etc. So I think they act very autonomous already. And I think they need to maybe understand that. Also under the comprehensive plan, section 3 paren B, goals and objectives under that, they have full autonomy there on what they're supposed to do, what they're supposed to present, why they were created under the comprehensive plan, and the documents that they have developed. So they're doing what they're supposed to do for the comprehensive plan and per the code. If they want to change all that, it takes time. And you just said that they would have to present a whole new ordinance. We'd have to go through public hearings. They'd have to go through a whole rigmarole of getting town approval, our approval, public approval, etc. So
They don't have to really get our approval. We are advisory on that only.
well, we'd have to advise that we agree that they could sever from us. But like I said, they really only need to see us once a year.
Mhm.
Okay, they have full autonomy already, other than that one come and get our approval. Item number 3 on my discussion, we have Planning Commission has supported the tree committee with past year's updates and requests for text amendments. A text amendment for Article 1104.04 paren A and 1104.07 paren B were presented by our past president to Town Council on August 9th, 2021, in conjunction with the tree committee, and that was approved unanimously.
Mhm.
Okay, however, it's unfortunate because I've tried to find out what's happened with that. Because our current ordinance doesn't reflect that update that was requested for the text amendment. And thereby our 1104 is now still out of date. So there's been no new ordinance to create that text amendment. So we need to check with Kevin Carden on what happened to that. The Ordinance Review Committee has not even had that on their agenda either.
So there was an ordinance change on.
There was 2 text amendments proposed. And we said, yes, go forward with it, and the town council approved it unanimously on August 9th, 2021. So it's almost a year, almost over a year. That has not been presented to town council as an amended ordinance to 1104. Okay, so that needs to be done. We, as the planning commission, can help push that along with town council. We can help the tree committee get that done. Also, too, there was a text amendment request for section 1104.08 paren C, which town council referred to the ordinance review committee on August 9th, 2021. That also has not been put on the ordinance review committee agenda from August 2021 to present.
And what was that for?
That was where it got voted down in planning commission that it needed to have further review. And it was recommended that it go to the ordinance review committee for further review because it required public notice.
What was it that?
1104.08 paren C.
And what was that?
That was where the tree committee had to notify the property owners for private property when they were going to trim, prune, or remove a tree.
Mm,
That the tree is actually sitting over here on private property, not in public.
And that was not unanimous by the planning commission.
Correct, but it was,
That you were one of the people that opposed it.
correct, I agree. It was voted down, it didn't go all the way through. So it was referred to the ordinance review committee.
Okay,
And so that I didn't see on any past agendas. Again, I'm looking at the website, which may be out to date on what's happened in those committees. So as far as I can see on the website, the ordinance review committee has not reviewed 1104.08 paren C.
okay.
And again, I want to stress to the tree committee, and I hope they're listening tonight. We're here to help you. We're not here to oppose you. We're here to make things better for the town as a whole and treat you as a partner. We're not here to do anything to oppose you. And so I really would like to hear why they feel they need to sever from us.
Yeah, I'm not sure they've expressed that.
They have not.
Pam?
That's what I know. I mean, that actually was my question.
Okay,
I'm sorry, Ken.
The tree committee is the town view. Probably the best committee in the town. And they're very diligent, they work hard. And you have Christie, who is the best, saying that the tree committee, would like to be on their own. What more do you need? That's perfectly, we should, what they ask for, we should give them. And there's nothing complicated about this. You don't get to tie yourself in knots over this. It's very simple. They do some things completely on their own without the planning commission, one of which is to put in for grants. Okay, and they're independent, yes, leave them be independent. Don't, I mean, if they want to do that, and by the way, I don't understand why we have to hear from the tree committee if Christie is the tree committee and she's saying that she'd like to do that. So I don't see what the problem is.
Well, I think that to Roberta's point on that issue is that if in fact there were ordinances developed to support the existing structure that are going to require change, it isn't about, because I agree, I think that they're fine to be independent. I don't have an objection to that. But I think that there are, and this is some of where I think that we struggle, because I think that these entanglements make a volunteer committee potentially, if two people resign off that committee, Tyler's on his own. And those two people are Christie and Robert, and they do work very hard. So if we make this
Excuse me,
more,
there's one other person, okay? Because there
Mhm.
should be a fourth person
it,
that's from that we appoint, who's,
Mhm.
okay,
yeah. Just, I mean, we appoint somebody from our.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that was Jim and he's
what was,
dead.
yeah, right.
yeah,
Okay.
and
But
that,
you're right,
that's
I mean,
another piece of
You're right,
business
if
for
they,
tonight, but.
you're right, if they go down, right.
It is a lot of work. So if in fact we want to support them, as you say, how do we find a path forward to not encumber them with the legal technicalities that are being discussed and let them be a working group that provides a service to the community? And I think that if we don't do that, I think that we are putting that group at risk. And again, we've not been able to fill these other positions. So I don't disagree that ordinances need to be updated. Well, let the people that handle the ordinances get appropriate updates on it. Chris, you can give direction, or the council can give direction to what that is. But I think that you introduce a risk that will potentially come back in your face.
Mhm.
Agreed,
That's
agreed.
my 2 cents.
Okay,
And then respond to, we should hear from them, at least submitting something in writing to the planning commission on why they feel this way. Right now, we're just hearing hearsay.
But they
No,
don't,
we're not hearing hearsay, we're hearing one of the chief members who runs the committee, Christie, tell us that they'd like to separate from the planning commission, what?
I haven't heard that at a meeting. or at a
Tyler,
What
town
do you
council.
think? I mean, do you think we're making this up, Roberta? or-
I think we need to be proper on how we need to hear from a committee. I think the committee needs to come forward, Tim, and I think that's the proper way to do it. Through Robert's Rules of Order, through proper parliamentary procedure, let the committee come forward, let them speak their mind, let the commission hear their issues. And then we as a commission bring those issues forward to town council, and town council makes a decision. I think that's proper.
I disagree, it's just
Well-
one more entanglement on something that's very simple,
at,
but.
at this point, maybe it would be good to, have more discussion with the tree committee and maybe, I'll try and get into their next meeting, perhaps, or, pushing into November or December, maybe, to discuss that more with them. And but in the meantime, the ordinance does say that planning should have a representative on tree committee, and we are absent that right now. I asked folks to think about that last time. Is anyone driven to or willing to take up that role? I know it's a little more, I know what they're mainly interested in is hands-on helpers, to be out.
sure,
And be actually doing some of the work, which is enjoyable and great outdoor stuff to do in Harper's Ferry. It also takes a bit of time.
unfortunately, they've been unsuccessful in getting that volunteer help.
Yeah,
And I happen to know that only because I know the people who are involved and watch what they do. It's like I said, I delivered some of the trees and all the mulch and like that, which is fine. I mean, if I've got time, I'm happy to help them, but it's, again, we're right back to, do we have people and how complicated are we going to make their life
yeah.
before we don't have any people?
Okay, and
I-
if no one is willing to step up, I'll be happy to step up. I have experience working with previous cities, urban forest management designation for tree, how to write a tree code and what have you. So I do have experience in urban forest, code enforcement and and background in city planning and.
So you'd like to volunteer on that?
If I could step in and until maybe someone else wants to come in and maybe I'll be happy to do.
Okay,
And I'm happy to volunteer on any of the hands-on days. I just have an unpredictable schedule such that I can't commit beyond this. But I've supported the tree committee in the past and planted a couple of trees in town and been there several Arbor days and all that stuff. And it's fun and it's outdoors and it's good people and it's exercise. So all good stuff. So definitely happy to hop on for any event day.
yeah, okay. Very good. So I hear you saying you're willing to be an official volunteer. Are you willing to help out occasionally or to be an official volunteer?
I can't commit to actually attending all the meetings.
Take you on, okay.
Yeah, but as
Yeah.
on any given day.
But just to help
need
out
hand or do
occasionally.
Ivy or planting
Yeah.
trees or any of that type of stuff and need extra manpower. Happy to help you with this.
In that case, do I have a nomination for Roberta?
I think we should at least wait till we have the rest of our committee here to.
To hear from
I really
the
do.
other two?
I think that it's, I just think in respect to that, and Zach being brand new and Ken, who almost never misses a meeting, I mean, it's just unfortunate that they couldn't be here for that, but
Mhm.
I would rather see that hold and listen to any input they have first. I don't think it's a pressing issue that we need to resolve.
And we could be interim, just sit and listen or be there,
Mhm.
know that they have a representative there listening to them.
Yeah, okay.
That's all.
Okay, if that is okay with everyone, if that's consensus, we'll push things off to make anything official right now.
Mhm.
Sound good, Tim?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go on to the reports then. On the permit process committee, I'll just mention that we did have a meeting on the 22nd. The committee was very pleased with the flow charts. I think they are moving to adopt as official the flow charts that we generally with Verlissa's help produced. We noted some changes that we're going to make in that. There were some ideas that came up from your and Ken's flow charts that we'd like to incorporate, I think.
Excellent.
And we pushed off that meeting in light of my vacation and some other things. Obviously, the comprehensive plan meeting kickoff coming up. We pushed that off until late November. So anyway, I'll keep you posted on additional. And Roberta, there may be at some point some ideas from your flow charts that I need to get your
Yeah.
advice.
And
and-
Ken can maybe do that.
suggestions.
I had a trial of the program, so that's why. So
Yeah.
Ken actually has the actual official program.
Okay,
And,
to know.
and maybe the town has the program to use, because that's
Okay.
how we would have to modify it.
Did you use the video?
I'm sorry.
Did you use the video?
Yes,
We have it.
okay. So maybe we can just see, and then if I need to come in, maybe you just sit at a computer and I can manipulate.
Yeah,
Ken,
I'm
if you just-
thinking mainly some of the ideas,
Understandings,
you know,
right,
the,
to pick them up and incorporate into the.
just to pull into the others.
Okay, all right, great. Be
So-
happy to do it. You got my phone number, just let me know.
Yeah, yeah. And Paul, how about the stormwater study? Any new report?
No update. I mean, we just got together
Okay.
2 weeks ago, so but it will stay on my list to keep the
Okay.
committee updated.
And as far as the signage task force, I know that budget and finance have been looking at ordering some new signs in town. There's not really any specific action that I know of that as it relates to Putnam Street and that issue. frankly, that may get pushed into the winter on my part.
I think they
And
were gonna take the two signs that we had behind the shed and get them up.
I'm sorry, say that
There
again.
were two signs behind the shed on a pole
Okay,
that I think Larry was supposed to install, that was supposed to be a start and to help.
okay,
That's as far as I know.
so still kind of,
That's fine.
You'll
You know,
kind of drop
again,
into
right,
place.
that's, it's kind of use what we have as best we can, so, and because the other thing is, we haven't heard. Back of any escalation, that's why I asked Ken, because Ken living right there. He knows what's going on, and that's why I asked him 2 meetings ago, it's why I asked
Yeah.
Ken. And he didn't have any new situations to report, so maybe that's somewhat self-remedied, but it certainly couldn't hurt to proceed with any sign placement that we have available, because that's just, it's just prudent to not put them behind the shed if they could do some good on the street, so.
it also may be that winter puts a a little slower motion on any of the concerned action up there, so. Okay, shall we move into the comprehensive plan discussion then? And so we have, I was thinking 2 things to do tonight. I'd like to kind of look at the slideshows we have. And also I want to encourage the rest of you, there's really no deadline other than probably to get them to Christie to move, but in plenty of time that they can review a little bit before November 15th.
Mhm.
So still plenty of time on that. And also feel free to throw out some ideas tonight as we look over the ones we have, just as to continue part of this brainstorming.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay,
so,
so if this goes black. Type that in. That's your own button.
Right?
and then I'll start you down and.
Turn that on.
Thank you.
And then on this one, the corporation on the right, you can go N, and then hit stop recording.
Okay, can you guys help me watch for any blue buttons that appear on the
Yeah.
Zoom there?
Sure,
Yeah, nothing's.
I doubt that that's gonna happen.
I don't think so either, but that's fine, yeah, we can all watch that,
Okay, that'll get you back in.
Thank you so much.
thank you.
And we don't have anyone who's trying to come in at
Yeah.
the top, nobody.
No, I've been watching, so,
And now we're watching.
and I left it on this side. Because that's how you start it off, but if you wanna look, you just know, click all the participants.
Okay,
And if somebody does show up, just roll over, click and hit it,
okay.
and they'll come in on this side.
Yeah, you guys.
Upside down. Okay, so just scroll over this and hit N, get your recording off.
Okay,
Okay,
Thank
thanks
you,
for that.
Patty.
thank you. Have a nice night.
You have a nice evening. I tried to make it a point not to look at Roberta's and Zach's before I created mine yesterday.
Well, I'm just gonna lift their stuff and put it on mine. No.
Well, it was interesting,
We could do that
Change the name and
Do you want a light on?
yeah, may tell.
one, yeah, there you go,
Yeah, that was good.
that first one, yeah.
That's great.
That's fine,
Is that good?
thank you.
Everyone can still see, can't you?
Mhm.
All right.
Okay, let's see. Oh, that's mine, isn't it? Yeah.
That's fine, start wherever, that's a good one to start with.
Let me take mine. Let's look at. Well, that's mine too, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, see, you did what I was gonna do. No.
Also, this one seems.
He
frozen.
always knows who copies from.
here's Zach. I will tell him, I would tell you all that, I was very impressed by his photographs. I'm not sure whether he took these all or not, but,
How about he did?
oh, they're wonderful. This one with the view shed from, Murphy Farm.
Mhm.
Isn't that a beautiful picture?
Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously, Zach likes the view sheds, as we all do. And, he's listing that as an asset. No real, other comments about that.
Well, it's interesting though, because. How many people know, and I don't mean just people who live here, how many people know those are available? How well do we promote that back? Now, this doesn't all fall under necessarily comprehensive plan. But that falls under something at least that you would think to engage tourism.
I mean, I'm
And-
sorry, how many people know what now?
How many people know of the view sheds, the points these are being taken from?
Well, the ones up at the hilltop are well known.
Yes,
Would bring in scads of people. The one over at, Mather is pretty well known. But yeah, the others are kind of surprises for people.
well, because I think that visitors, and I think we need to be thinking about all of this just within what we do. I don't see that as. I think they're important. So let me start with that. I don't mean to be at all dismissive about it. I think he has some great points.
Yeah.
My question is, what do we do with those great points? And I don't think that those are necessarily comprehensive plan drivers as much as they are tourism drivers. And how do we communicate these wonderful assets of the area to those that we would like to share them with?
Well, there's sharing, but there's also protection. And.
That's a good point.
But your point is well taken, that there may not be as much to do on that as there is on a water system.
Yes. That, I guess that's what I'm saying. If we don't start to find ways to put these things in kind of the right basket, the basket gets just overloaded with comprehensive plan.
Right.
But and again, I think that they're absolutely important, and I think it was great that he brought those up.
Pulling the mouse here, it didn't seem to be finger,
Maybe pulling the bar on the far right of the screen. That's 2/3 of the way up from the bottom, maybe
yeah,
easier to
okay.
control.
So trails and public right of ways, Zach included those, as did I. His pictures are better though. And so there are paper streets, there's the Zach says the AT, it's actually a spur trail off of the AT that goes to the Mather campus. And then I added Woodpecker Woods, where Trail in Town is busy laying out new trails that are just wonderful. So obviously one of the things that we love about town, and actually volunteers have really been first and foremost on
Cleaning up.
Which really is an area that it's one of the very few areas that you can really get volunteers behind, because it's such an asset to the community. So many people use them. I think that paper streets versus trails should really be subdivided into two categories, because trails are clearly marked, shared, and known. Paper streets create a different situation where people start to, how do you define those? It is, what are the ones, and who's ready to access it? Who maintains them? Who maintains paper streets?
In the town.
No, they don't maintain.
They don't mow the
They
ground.
do not. No,
The town does do some mowing on paper streets.
they never mowed either ones by us.
Yeah, it's not all of them. It's ones where there has been some concern historically, or
So maintenance, liability, just the things that go with property ownership. Trails are maintained, they're walked, they're reported, there's good information.
Although the paper streets certainly provide access for trails. And we can discuss more about that.
That's fine.
Dark night skies, one that I wouldn't have thought about, but there has already been movement on an ordinance. It's not been completed in town for a dark sky initiative and there are some lighting restrictions in the present ordinances. So
Which I think that's really important and certainly should be part of building code. That's where we used to catch a lot of in advance of people investing money and doing things that we knew we were gonna have to pull back on.
yeah,
There never did we approve a permit without dark sky compliant lighting,
mhm.
so. But I think you made a good point there too.
Doesn't seem to like my text here.
I've come up with it would get worse.
Blended community with historic park. And he mentions several of the intersections, Gilmore Street, it looks like the Brackett House, maybe. And yeah, I also included pictures of the middle school and the library, which are not within the town's boundaries, but which the town has a role in, especially the library. We help support and serve on and appoint people who serve on the board there. Great community resources. And
But if, again, how well is that fitted to comprehensive plan?
I don't know, remember, we're just
No, it's just free thinking, I know.
at this point, just looking at assets and
Okay,
I mean, is that, do you find that objectionable or?
the only thing I find that is sometimes I think that we introduce potential distractions, and I think we've already got more there than we can handle. If this doesn't dovetail into comprehensive plan, I agree with them as assets. I take my grandchildren to that library. We were just there Saturday.
Yeah,
So I mean, I love them as assets. You know, the kids in the neighborhood that I live go to these schools and they're absolutely assets to the community. But I don't know that that's a fit to the comprehensive plan.
I don't know either, Paul, but there may be a point where if people see it as an asset, there may be discussion about increasing our support.
Mhm.
There may be other things that I haven't even thought about.
Well, and maybe some of this is things we should go to you and the rest of the council members and get some direction, because again, I just worry that if this becomes so big, we just try to carry the basket, we don't fix any of the things that are in it,
Mhm.
so.
And Roberta McCurry, and maybe one of the reasons it's an asset, it may already address an issue in the comprehensive plan, which. What is the inventory of our community rooms? Where are the rooms that we can go to all meet as a community, hold a large public meeting, hold an event, hold a fundraiser? So I think maybe those two buildings would serve that purpose, as listed.
Gotta be careful
maybe as-
Gotta be careful what you let in. I mean,
Agreed.
extremely careful, because if you let a group in to a school, and I've dealt with this. You will be amazed at how that can be. I'm gonna say misused by other groups who would like to be able to have an audience or like to have something there, and you're under a real equal play factor if in fact you let if you let in even the Boy Scouts or the Girl Scouts, or then what about every other youth group?
Well, excellent point. We should let in the youth because they are part of the community as well. And we do need to include them as a stakeholder. So maybe they're there as a stakeholder,
Yeah,
as the youth representing, we need to hear from them. What do they want this community to be? What do they want Harpers Ferry and Bolivar to be?
Mhm.
It's not just us senior citizens that have a word, it's the youth.
Okay. Weekend traffic congestion, he has a picture of 340 here, could have also done Washington Street on a busy, October weekend.
340 is bad.
Heavy industry, for Rockville. Yeah, I'd be interested in knowing Zach's take on that, what he feels the town's direct concerns would be. I mean, for me, it's monitoring water quality.
And
is
air,
the-
Air
the
quality.
main
and air
one.
quality.
Yep.
Obviously concerns with air as well, although our little town might be less in a position to do anything about that.
And hopefully we have baseline information prior to this, or
Now we need to get it.
and it's difficult to get it
Well,
Yeah.
we need to get it.
going back.
We need to try to get it.
I can get it.
Exactly right. We need a baseline.
Okay, so here we have Roberta's, and Roberta wrote quite a bit. I don't want to get too much into detail, but you want to take us through kind of quickly, Roberta?
I'm sure, I think, very similar points, and pictures and assets that, both you and Zach have mentioned. It's the paper streets and the view sheds, I think are very important. It's unfortunate we've given up our primary one right now until the construction is done. But, need to make sure that what are the alternatives, like you said, promote the alternates, maybe for tourism reasons.
Mhm.
Get the people up there, letting them know, hey, yeah, I know you're missing observation view number 1, and that's the reason you came here today. But did you know that we had 2, 3, 4, and 5?
Mhm.
So that's kind of where I'm going with that.
And wouldn't that be nice if that was easily accessible by phone with map and instructions, because.
Yeah.
It's,
Exactly.
they're tremendous.
And I do want to caution about that idea that we gave up its protection. It's really by contract that view is protected for our future, for the town's future in the street agreement.
Which is, that's great. It really is. I mean, that's kind of forethought that we need to see to have those protections.
Yeah.
I understand they're trying to amend it now, and hopefully the same protections are gonna be there, so who knows?
Yeah, well, that's certainly something I intend to make sure of, and but that actually the change they proposed on the view shed is a good one. It's to keep it at the present location rather than to move it in the paper street. People don't realize that view shed was on private land all those years.
Right, well, as long as, well, we're getting, I don't want to get into that. Okay, Shipley School, it's sitting there, it's being compromised. We need to turn that into a community asset, whether that be another public meeting space or whatever, but that needs to be preserved. And the challenges are working with the national park to relinquish that asset to maybe Harpers Ferry or another nonprofit. And help that nonprofit find the grants, money, and whatever to renovate it.
If it's possible, because 128 occupied housing units in Harpers Ferry can't support it financially.
No, they can't. So that's why we need to go globally.
Mhm.
I mean, there are how many visitors? 700,000 visitors plus that come to
Probably
this
plus,
community.
yeah.
And that's an asset that we can share and help fundraise through other means.
There's a lot of interest in Shipley School right
Yes, there
now,
Oh, yeah.
from all sorts of directions,
Yep.
and I think the immediate thing that's happening is the mayor's having discussions with the park superintendent about just making it less of an eyesore right
Okay.
now.
That's a start.
And then I know the superintendent has already expressed to me, he has an interest in public-private partnership on that. I think there's a lot of really exciting opportunities
Yes.
there. And yeah, I think it's important that get into the comprehensive plan
Right.
sometime.
How did the Park Service get the ownership of?
How did they get it? Well, I can't remember the full story, Tim, but basically, I think at some point. When the school district gave it up, the town got it and really didn't have money or. I guess the wherewithal to take care of it, and they gave it to the park. The park has done some preservation. I mean, it does have a new roof.
New roof and new shrub.
And they did some structural stuff just recently, but obviously it's a mess and inside and out. So,
But just a roof is what will preserve it for potential opportunities. So that's a huge step.
Right,
yeah,
they've done structural stuff on, with some structure going down and the roof. To get the new roof on there but there is significant damage.
so you have the sidewalks here.
I had it for the ADA. There is a more beautiful way to have an ADA ramp in a historic city, and that's a
Yeah.
brick ADA ramp with the tactile tiles made out of the same brick. So it can be a beautiful thing versus an ugly thing. And
Yeah.
you see in some of these other older towns, they slap the plastic thing down and it looks ugly. It doesn't marry the current brick sidewalks or the historical aesthetics of the town. So there is a solution that works better, and that's kind of why I'd like to see that happen.
Yeah, and incidentally, DOH has a project on to make all of Washington Street sidewalks accessible through Bolivar and Harper's Ferry. Now, like all of DOH's projects, it doesn't happen quickly, but
No, right?
that is in the works.
That's
But I hope they stay with the bricks that they've already got established and not go to concrete. And
Yeah.
look at all these, look at Shepherdstown, look at Martinsburg, look, I can make a
Yeah.
zillion long list, they're all brick.
Yeah.
The maintenance it costs are less expensive too with brick,
Yeah,
long-term maintenance. What else do I have on here? On-street parking, you seem to have already addressed that. It is in your current comprehensive plan. You got to pay for parking, so we almost, in my report, I almost have checked that off. You have met that challenge in the comprehensive plan from your previous comprehensive plan.
Yeah.
And we are there, so, maybe incorporating those material choices for the new ones
Mhm.
to address the stormwater. And that's,
If we could address stormwater, and that's another one that we could possibly tie into the energy aspects of that, if we could work with the national park, who may have incentives to do similar things. It's just, again, where does all that get prioritized and who drives
right.
it forward? So, but the paid parking has been such a success. Is there any potential expansion of that? Don't know. But being the second biggest revenue producer,
Mhm.
I would think that it may be still more to be had.
Yeah, and there are some details about the parking that I hear residents still express, beyond just the general complaints about it being too busy. And some of those may be small enough that they're not really comprehensive plan material, but just, individual requests for
Mhm.
intersections and things,
Mhm.
striping and.
Well, it's interesting that you say it, because the one that got the stop work order, is that on Fillmore Street? Did you see where that was? I actually walked over there, because I don't know enough about the town, so I have to go see things. And I walked over and they just carved a spot right out of the lawn that they were going to turn into parking.
Oh. yeah.
Well, that would absolutely, first, it's pedestrian in the street situation.
Mhm.
They were going to park on the lawn and they were gonna park directly right where the stop sign is.
Mhm.
Without a permit, they developed that, so they undid it
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
stop work order, but it's. It's interesting how people move forward.
Yeah, it's true. Um,
Number seven, infill lots. There's a lot of vacant lots still in the town. What's the status of these? There's been some lots split off from other lots. And so how do we encourage new development? How do we encourage those property owners to build or have a long-term resident in the community versus a short-term rental? And because as you reported in your slideshow, our census has gone down. We need the residents, we need the votes, we need the economic stimulus. So can we develop those empty lots into something that's affordable housing or maybe micro lots? A lot of cities are doing micro lots to maybe like the lots smaller,
Are you saying? that
smaller
the lot-
house and, you know,
I'm sorry, Roberta, are you saying that the lots are publicly owned?
no, no. There's a lot of private lots in town that are vacant. But they're privately held.
How do you take that away from? a
Or no,
landlord?
no, I'm not suggesting taking it away. No.
Okay, all right, no, I'm sorry, I
I'm not
misunderstood.
trying to do
But somehow encouraging.
development. Come encourage them to, hey, we need a house here, or we need something here.
And I think just a lot of people are waiting for the hotel and the escalation, hopefully of real estate.
But if we could build something like, maybe if you develop this lot, or you do an affordable house, or you get a discount on your permit, or you get a tax and property tax
Yeah.
incentive for X number of years, you know, there's kind
Well,
of.
I'm very interested in finding out from WVU what ideas they have on
think that-
encouraging
That's a great idea.
more residential ownership, especially because now the state has taken away most of the sticks that we used to have as far as controlling percentage of rentals and that kind of thing. Most of that's been taken away, but
Yep.
there may be still tax incentives, things that we could use to encourage more people to actually live here, or buy because they want to live here rather than just rent it out.
Well, and you mentioned it before, if sometimes. It's less likely, in my opinion, that a carrot will work if people are waiting for the other, so sometimes you have to find the stick.
Mhm.
And the stick may be to look at what these empty lots are selling for. And assess them appropriately for the current real estate market.
Right.
That would be the stick. And so it's. It may take that type of an incentive for those that are waiting. A lot of this may resolve itself in the, as we get through the next couple of years and. And what the impact of the hotel has on opportunities, because I don't think people just hold it because they want to hold it, they hold it because there's something in it for them.
Mhm.
So,
Don't you think that there's a substantial or a number of people who are against most development of any kind, subdividing properties, building smaller apartment houses? I mean, I'm thinking, I feel like the town is as big as it can be and we shouldn't be subdividing
Well,
and building new.
it's interesting, Tim. I always thought that population of Harper's Ferry had been fairly stable since the Civil War, but Doug Perk's article in the Spirit last week. I don't know whether you all read Doug's articles, but it was very interesting. 1920, 730 people lived here.
And before the Civil War, I think it was over 3,000.
Yeah, but that was different because you had these factories operating and people were living in,
factory houses,
Right.
yes.
row houses and
Exactly.
the things that we have downtown. That's probably not practical, like
I understand.
Tim is alluding to, but 730 people were probably living in the same town that we're talking about right now.
What do we have? We have
65.
267 as the 2020 census.
that would include, that includes everybody, not just so.
Right, that's everybody. Yeah, that's a nice breakdown. The census piece that you shared is really nice.
I think that was a 5.5% decrease just since 2010.
Mhm.
And
Went from 315 to 267.
so, we are getting some more families moving in town. But boy, you look at the houses selling right now and instantly they're just turning into rentals. And some of the things that were mentioned in the old comprehensive plan about, trying to get more people to live downtown and storefront.
Second story
Not sure we
living,
attacked that as much as we should, and in fact, we had a big loss with I noticed the house down there on Potomac Street that it had several nice young single people living in it a few years ago. Now, the new owners are turning it into a vacation rental.
Hmm.
So, you can just make so much more money, I think. And so that's where it may be interesting to look at some tax benefits and, you know. So, well, thank you, Roberta. Those are
Yeah,
some
you can
good
read that.
ideas. Did we get them all?
Yeah, that's fine. We're just going to the next one.
Okay. And, so, let's see. I mentioned the CBD, the town. It's just gonna work. It's the deal.
I went there today. It's very nice. I took some pictures of that.
It's a beautiful
It's
place.
great. Yeah, they did a great
It's
job.
amazingly nice.
There's so much information.
Yeah, and, the town puts quite a bit of money into it.
Oh,
I'm not sure it's a comprehensive plan thing, but I think it's an asset, so.
Oh, definitely. I think it's a huge asset. My question is, how well are we communicating that asset to, especially the visitors coming in? Because
Yeah.
it is a wealth of information. We didn't talk to any of the people that are there. They're awesome. They have tremendous materials. They have knowledge. They very freely share it. It's I think they've staffed it really well.
Mhm.
And I'm surprised it doesn't receive heavier use, and I think some of that is it's new, and how well does it get promoted as the asset that it is, but I agree with you, it's gold, I think, it just.
Yeah.
yeah, I think it needs a better visual off the road, better signage.
In the past, there were a lot of concerns that there wasn't great communication between. The people who worked at the visitor center and. Helping people navigate and. See the right things in Harper's Ferry. I think that has improved, but, that is one thing that the merchants used to express a
A
lot.
lot of that is training. I mean, if you want if you want to share a deeper amount of information that the people can only share what they have.
Mhm.
If they don't know, so if a young person gets hired, and some of them are pretty young. If a young person gets hired, if that's not structurally a part of their training, and there's some expectation that they're going to just know this because they walked in the door. That's bad management.
Yeah,
It's not a problem person. I mean, the training of the staff there should have that focus with whatever influence we have with the visitor bureau.
right.
So,
I drove out to the water plant and obviously a new plant just about to go online is a great asset. I mentioned the challenges that we still have with the distribution system because the loan couldn't pay for that, and that's gonna be a long haul. Slow fix, I think.
And when you say that, is that when they were gonna come down the streets and dig the pipes in the right of way? Is that?
Yeah, replacing pipes is a
Yeah.
lot of it,
but their water loss is some of the lowest in the entire state. Their water loss, which is really what drives pipe replacement or pipe fixes. They have some of the best numbers in the state in this water department.
Hmm,
wow.
Just,
that's good.
And that's improved.
and I guess that's dramatic, again, not being from here. I think that at least for what I was told, that's dramatically improved over the past few years.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay, what else? Let's see. Oh, there's my picture of Woodpecker Woods and. I can't see much of the trail going in there, but
Now, where is that at?
that is off of Old Furnace Road. I always thought that this was part of Bolivar or the county. Well, it runs into the county, but it's actually Harper's Ferry land. And so we're working on a lot of those trails. If you all are interested in joining me on this Saturday hike I'm leading, I'm gonna be hiking some of those trails. Some of them are still under development, so there may be some folks along the way on as to how rugged they want to get. ATC, obviously one of our employers, draws hikers, tourists. And some people have moved here because of their interest in trails, including myself. Originally not AT as much as CNO, but all part of the mix.
Tim, what's the best source for trail maps of this area?
Yeah, and unfortunately, some decreases in that since the pandemic. They've really downscaled their retail, but that may change back. I think there's still some discussion going on about that.
I got 4 new maps from the visitor center, so there's some good maps in the.
I think it doesn't good. People there, I think they do a great job.
Mather, a part of the Park Service that we don't think about too much, but I mentioned, was really happy. Ed and I went over to the 155th anniversary of the store. You know, we have this treasure for a piece of Black history in this town. And I think that's a real exciting thing that is the park and the Town Historic Foundation have both tried to educate people more on recently, and so that's another real volunteer effort that has been going places. And then the present use of Mather as you know, the training center, the interpretive design center, Harpistry Center, where they do all the restoration, preservation work. It's so quiet over there that we don't realize how much goes on and how many people are really drawn into the town for that. I don't know whether there are better ways to incorporate those populations, to have more people who work there, live here, you know, have them spend more money. I don't know, but something to think about. Darn.
I met a couple of them. A lot of them were working remotely during the pandemic, and
Yeah.
also a lot of them live in Charleston.
Exactly, yeah, yeah.
So-
The pandemic kind of a special circumstance, and it's probably not gonna ever get back quite like it was. The historic district, obviously, one of our great assets, and some real challenges there, you know. Ed was, my partner Ed said, when we were talking about assets and challenges, he said, there needs to be some talk. What commitment does the town have to the historical district? You know, all of the haphazard enforcement, to me, a lot of it is education oriented, that people don't know what they're supposed to do when they buy a house here. And so there's some real challenges there, as well as one of our greatest assets, in my opinion. So, and also that we have a whole lot of old houses that are smaller than a lot of families like to live in today, and costs a lot to heat them and fix them up. So that's a challenge too. Hilltop redevelopment, obviously a real exciting thing that holds great potential for the economy and historic preservation, especially with the old armory houses that they're committed to fixing up. But we know there's going to be challenges with this big new business in our town. So both excitement and, you know, a little bit of fear and trembling.
You know, I think we got to get past that and just look towards working closely and bringing them as close in as we can, so that they can appreciate the benefits that the comprehensive plan and that the entire town have on their business and their operations too. I mean, it's hand in hand with a resource that's that significant in size.
I agree, and I think we are getting past some of the fear. And Tim was noting when we talked earlier this evening on the phone that definitely they're one of the stakeholders we need to pull into the
I agree with him.
conversation. The train station, hey, one of our assets, again, that is, runs all the time and we hear the whistle, but we don't think about what a real treasure it is, the MARC train, the Amtrak connections. And those have their threats too, and I'm not sure it's comprehensive material, comprehensive plan material, but
Well,
certainly
I would agree.
working
Really
with the
important.
state to be a little more supportive might be.
I think that's gotta be part of it, but it's already in the comprehensive
Yes.
plan, and I think it's one that we do need to anchor, because that's very important to a lot of people, including some of the residents, I mean,
Because they commute.
it commute and as you look at tourism too, I mean, how do we, and like Chris's point, which is, how do we work with the state or work with whatever powers that be that could help capitalize or make that even a better thing than it is.
Yeah,
I moved here for the train, because the train exists.
That's-
Yeah.
And plenty of people did it for that same reason, and plenty of people will leave if that support isn't more consistent.
Very well.
and the pandemic has hit it so hard, but possibly not as hard as the state of West Virginia has, despite its lack of support, so.
Let me ask you about that, because I was down there and I had pictures of the train as well, but I was also counting the parking spaces. I know you're not gonna talk about that, but how do we know which, it says reserved spots, and then it's just got open spots, and then it has reserved spots, and I noticed some of the cars had their permit placard for the merchants who get to park there. So how is that lot divided up? It looks like there's,
Well, the merchants have a particular section that is marked off for them. And that's kind of reserved parking, and I think that's fairly small. As far as the park and as opposed to the commuters, I think it's always been assumed that the commuters reach there so early that they have first dibs.
Yep.
okay, that's what I didn't know.
No, but in practice, that is absolutely true, because then of course, the Park Service has at least partial, I don't know how much of that they control, but it's a pretty significant amount of
Yeah.
the parking there, so.
Yeah. And of course, the park controls all of that on the weekends. They actually ticket and
They staff it, yeah,
staff it.
yeah, they absolutely do.
And here's parking again that I'm not quite ready to just check it off as a done for, but certainly it's been our second source of revenue. I had to take the high water marker down in the lower town to mention just all the water issues we have. It's been 96 since we had a major flood. We've been pretty lucky with that. When Ida rolled through, I was packing up books at the bookshop to evacuate, and we dodged that bullet. But the minor floods have been kind of very frequent in recent years. I think, what was that, 2020, that we had the park closed, I don't know, about 6-7 times because
Oh, really?
the bus loop flooded. So it continues to be an issue, and hopefully the stormwater can reach some of the issues on a small level. And then
That's actually why I feel so strongly that the West Virginia Climate Group needs to be more involved in forecasting and providing data that will help the entire region make better decisions, because Fort Myers, Florida never saw what they had this past week. I mean, they call that now what would have been a 500-year flood. And like I said, where we used to live, what were 100-year water issues were now coming up every 5 years. It's everywhere. It's across the country, whether it's a drought or flood. It's significant impacts, and we are, just by our location and the topography, we are right in a key point to to have exactly that happen and to have it worsen. So,
Mhm.
Do we have a disaster preparedness plan on record, on file?
Yeah, I know you mentioned that, Roberta, and I know there is a disaster preparedness plan. I think kind of managed by the county. But I'm not very familiar with it, and we should probably educate ourselves on that. On what there is.
that's a good idea.
and
That's,
what
that's a
the-
good
We
thought.
can see where that is, that document is.
Christian Petroconis might be a good person to start with, because he was so involved with the pandemic stuff. I think he
Okay, good.
would be well posed to know some of it. Okay, and then the park, obviously, ground sport, whoops. Wow, just such an asset, and certainly one of the reasons why I wanted to move to Harper's Ferry. And it employs me part-time to this day. Protects our view sheds in the town. And I think, again, I'm not sure how it fits with as a comprehensive plan thing, but just continuing to coordinate. I think that the camaraderie and the cooperation with the park has really improved since I've lived here. Rebecca Harriet, the past superintendent, was a big part of that. And so I feel like it's pretty positive right now. Byron Bridge, this is my pet project that I've been working on for 100 years. And fortunately, the CNO has applied to the state of Maryland for grant money for a ramp on the Maryland side, Maryland end of the pedestrian pathway. And that should really improve the condition for bicyclists and people with challenges and dogs and all kinds of things, to make it easier to get across the bridge. Our business district. I mean, when you think about towns of 267 people, most of them would find our business district unimaginable, as in economic resources for the charm and everything. And it is, and of course it has those challenges too, the street, the steep street, the lack of parking, the crooked sidewalks, especially during COVID, we put it into overhaul. How are you going to maintain 6 feet of distance from people in this little
3-foot
19th
sidewalk?
century city?
Exactly.
I have a quick question there. There've been a couple of movies and documentaries made in town since I've lived here.
I'm sorry, say it again.
There have been a couple of movies and documentaries made in town since I've lived here. Where does that money go?
As far as doing some work on High Street, and
Well, I presume that they pay us. the
Yeah.
town something.
the big thing happening down there right now is DOH did a study, came up with 3 alternatives to help traffic and pedestrian and car traffic on High Street. And there were problems and issues with all of them. And so a lot of us had conversations, and the mayor presented DOH with kind of an altered Plan B, I think. And they're kind of working with the consultants right now on that. So I think there's going to be some action down there. Again, like all of the DOH projects, it won't happen real fast, but. I
You
think
know what
there's-
happened to that Main Street initiative? I knew it was started, but for some reason it stopped.
Yeah, Main Street is kind of a business, a downtown business organization. And a little bit like Chambers of Commerce, except oriented towards little towns, Main Street business districts. And Harper's Ferry discontinued its activity in that several years ago because there was because it was a volunteer effort and because there was so much red tape and bureaucracy in the Main Street program, and that's when the town foundation started as an alternative to that. Now the town foundation's had a few shifts in subsequently in its focus, but that's what happened to Main Street. And I took the little darling little women's club house picture just as representative of the many organizations in town that provide service and interest. And of course, they have their challenges too. Again, I don't know for comprehensive plan, but it's an asset.
Absolutely. They're active in the community and they do good things, so, you know, it's,
And like Zach, I took the school, I took the library. And there's my biggest challenge in my mind is that declining population, 267. I mean, it's amazing that we have as much influence and pull around the country that everyone knows us and everyone loves us, loves its town, you know. So it's amazing the things we can accomplish with 267 people, but also as that population keeps.
if it continues to
Lower.
dwindle, that would, no, that's a risk. It remains a very open risk. And again, part of that risk is just the commitment to the community aspect.
Yeah.
So,
So those were
Bravo.
some of the ideas. Again, I talked to Ed Wheelis about his ideas. And I think he also mentioned sidewalks. He saw that as one of our biggest challenges. Crooked, broken up, inaccessible. And he also mentioned power lines. Bury the power lines, especially as the storms get worse and everything. It's going to help our resilience as well as make the historic district more attractive. And we already have, I believe, that requirement for new construction to bury power lines. And it's in the, you know, it was required for the hilltop as well. But kind of a long
Well, and
long-haul
that's-
goal for the.
that one needs to be woven into all of the other aspects of this, and Robert, you had mentioned. The fact of water line replacement, distribution center issues, you would mention distribution center issues as it pertains to water. When you look at water, anything that gets buried. Please don't pave a street and cut it the next week, you know, I mean, that, I've watched it happen. I can't even tell you how many times. And if it takes a lot of coordination and communication. To do it right the first time, to put the power lines in, to have the appropriate water, sewer, anything that you want to accomplish. It needs to be a comprehensive plan of its own. For it to really find both the efficiency and the outcome that people want it to. So it's,
We'll just look on Fillmore Street, there's a nice big winding strip. Cut through there for cable,
and
and it looks silly forever.
And how long will cable even be, right? It's almost gone now, you know, it's. But it just. And maybe next meeting. Chris will, because obviously we're gonna continue this discussion. Next meeting, I really would like, and I hope everybody takes some time to think about. How do we prioritize? And I would love direction from the council members. I really think we need it. To
Say that again,
to
Paul.
prioritize the comprehensive plan in a manner that we can start to accomplish things, that we don't just have a date column, that we have a date that things are expected and a date that things are done. And that we keep it a manageable amount of work for the resources that are there, because to plan it with all of these resources that don't exist is not a plan.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. However, I feel like we have done an amazing bunch for a little town over the last few years. We think of the Potomac project, the water plant.
So do I. I think that there's a lot done. And I think that should be part of what is shown is projects completed.
Yeah,
They're not there. And we need to recognize that because that's what we need to share with the community. If we're not communicating that, it
Mm.
just looks like we're all treading water. People don't think about it. They turn the faucet on, there's water. They don't think about the work that it's taken and the tremendous hours and dollars that have gone into the replacement of that plant.
Mhm.
But we have to have promotable aspects of this, and there are a bunch, but you know where I've learned them? From you
Mm.
and from Tim.
Mhm.
You know, we have to have a way to communicate those
Yeah.
accomplishments.
One of the things that we have thought about, is to have some kind of an open house at the water plant. And what I had been envisioning was having Bolivar Council, the park staff and county folks come in for a tour, that kind of thing. But, maybe we need, an open house day for the towns, Bolivar as well as Harper's Ferry, since they're
I think that would be
an
very
even bigger
appropriate.
bank of customers.
I do, I think it would be very appropriate. I think that if you think about how much can be done with a project like that. That could be field trips for fourth graders, I mean, this is stuff that matters to people. But I'll tell you what, if it was my son or my grandson or granddaughter that came home to tell me about it, that would mean something to me.
Mhm.
And I think that again, we don't even recognize the accomplishment of that. We do a little bit, but not in a way that really enriches the community with information.
Mhm.
And I think you only get to do that stuff once, you only get but to keep a running log of it is a good thing, is a reminder for all of us as a community that we are getting things done.
Mhm.
So,
The other thing I had down to do tonight was to go through the checklist in a very abbreviated form and go through. I'm not sure that we ought to start that tonight. It may be
The checklist.
a little too long haul, but I'll tell you what I did for my own notes. And maybe you all could do something like this as well. I took Roberta's checklist and did 5E, 5F and listed what it has to do with. 5E is the water system, 5F is PSD. 5G is stormwater, 5H, energy efficiency and alternatives. I made notes to myself about the accomplishments and needs and
that's awesome.
challenges. And rather than when I tried to take each line individually,
It's hard.
it was a little overwhelming. But when I grouped them like that, with the major categories, it made it kind of digestible, and I could look at the details to get ideas and remind myself of things. So,
No, that's good. And I think if you could send that to me and I could plug it in where you think it needs to be. But I'm gonna send this to each of you because I
Thank you.
plugged in a lot that's completed.
uh-huh,
And I'm excited to show you
Thank
how
you.
much has been done
awesome.
and what ordinance made it happen and what code section
Yeah.
is now
Mhm.
addressing that request in the comprehensive plan. So you guys have done well. I think, and that's what we need to see. And that's what we need to report back.
Mhm.
So it's working. It's, just walking around town, taking the pictures, going through the code. So if you've got memory, like we're gonna start asking the other residents, past officials, what's your memory of how we accomplished this? Do you remember an ordinance? Can you point me in the direction where we codified it, Help us fill the blanks.
Yeah.
And I think that if the council could give us some direction as far as how do we prioritize how we move forward with the comprehensive plan, I think that we should really dial into that prioritization and let's I have no problem with the list being long. Let's not pretend we're gonna work on the whole list at any one point. Create it in phases, break it into
Exactly.
pieces. And let's not invent it ourselves and send it up and say, we get it back and let's, if we could get some direction on that, I think we could be a lot more productive.
Well, and I think WVU is gonna help us with that.
I totally agree with you. Yep, and it's, but the council's got to make the decisions
Sure,
of what that is.
the council will adopt,
Yes,
the input from everyone and.
then I think we can improve the process. That's all.
It'd be great if we had some sort of an idea of an approximate T-shirt size and level of effort
Yeah.
associated with each, and thus its approximate funding requirements.
Exactly, and funding opportunity.
And wrapping staff and.
Yep.
Available funding.
So anything else tonight on that?
No, I'd be that to them.
Well, this is kind of fun. It's kind of fun to talk about these big ideas, and yeah, we do have to. Start prioritizing and scaling down, but it's fun to talk about all the.
We need to talk about them all. They all need to be on a list.
There's a bunch of great ideas, photos and everything, so
Yep.
it spurred several thoughts in mind that I'm gonna. Do further research.
Will she continue to give us assignments in between now and November 10th or what?
Well, I'm flying the coop for
Yeah, I know.
2 weeks.
To be honest with you, I think we would be better. Changing that process a little bit, at least making sure that the council is the driver of the prioritization, because it's great that this works there. But almost all this work was already in the comprehensive plan. I think the photos help me because I don't know the area well enough, so I think that there's components about that, and I think we can make it. More promotable with some of those things, because it's recognizable to members of the community, so I think all that's awesome. But I still think it has to start with the council so that we don't end up spinning our wheels, and that if they could give us a rough idea of the prioritization, because they know where we've got funding opportunities, they know where, and let's use our very small amount of resources wisely as we can.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay, so yeah, as far as assignments,
They may come.
look at the checklist. Think about
And thank you for
ideas,
your
jot
work on
things
it.
down and then, I got an email from Zach that he is interested in participating on the tour, on the 15th. What I'm envisioning is, not more than 3 of us, because if we have more than 3, we have a quorum, and that's a problem.
Can we
but-
call a special meeting for that?
What's that?
Can we call a special meeting and say, we're having a meeting, we're just having to do. a
Well, you
walking
won't
tour?
have me there because it's my grandson's birthday, so.
Yeah, okay, so, so, anyway, what I'm envisioning is having a, park drive, park walk tour,
I think that's. all.
and we might start over at your end of town.
Sure.
And then come up on Camp Hill. Take a little walk, go down to Lower Town, maybe a little longer walk down there and, so that's what I'm envisioning. And any of you interested in participating in that?
Definitely.
You
And
would
if
be?
we are gonna have more, then let's call it a special meeting and it's a walking tour. That's what we're doing for the special meeting. That's gonna get us into.
Well, the deal is, as far as having a special meeting, is that we want to, I know we're gonna have town council people involved. We don't want to make this too big. The meeting, we're gonna meet as a group that night. And we will, I'm sure WVU is gonna lead that discussion as far as the,
Would it classify as a public meeting? Therefore, if we. No, well, we got time. We got 30 days notice. If we give 30 days notice and we just say it's an open tour meeting or whatever, so that we cover ourselves legally.
Well, if it's just 3 of you, then you don't need it, right?
No, I think it's unfair to limit it to just 3 PC.
Not for the tour. The tour is mainly for WVU's benefit to get to know the town.
I would love to go, but I just, like I said, there's no way I'm missing my.
And
That, I already,
we're not envisioning a,
doesn't matter what the hell you're called.
you know, a big march of masses of people walking through town. Just a friendly little introduction to the neighborhoods and some of the issues.
Very good idea.
We can talk about some of those, new development issues that have come up on your end. On Camp Hill, we can point out some of the resources. Touch base on some of the stormwater issues up there. I welcome your ideas, and let's put you and Zach on the list, and I'll certainly be there.
I'm fine with that. I think that's a fine group, and then you can share.
I know, but I don't want to anyone feel left out because we're all a team and we're all.
Well, as I told Zach, if we get more than 3 volunteers, we'll draw straws or something. If
There you go.
any of you are,
I'm glad Zach's going. I really am. I think that both the fact that he's lived here basically his whole life, and I think that getting someone young on this group, I think you did a great job. However that all worked out, that's awesome, and I'm very pleased that he's on board, so.
so, but let's go with that. Roberta, you and Zach and me, and then we'll talk Monday on town council about who's gonna attend from it. It'll be the same restriction, not more than 3 there.
Storm should definitely be on that tour.
He'd probably be great with the stormwater, especially in so many.
Overall, not, yeah, he really is. I mean, he's phenomenal. He's got deep understandings on the stormwater issues, so.
So that's, and then I'm gonna talk to the mayor about possibly treating them to dinner at the Rabbit Hole or something, and
That'd be very nice. Good for you.
and then we'll meet at 7. I'm assuming 7 is the optimal time again for the 15th. So,
Very good.
okay,
Mhm.
well, anything else? Motion to adjourn then?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay,
Agreed.
okay, all in favor?
I,
Thank you all.
Thank you.
good job. Good meeting.
Tim, how you feeling now?
I can tell.
Well, in a fever or anything? Oh, my goodness. Yes.
Thank you.
Everybody have a good week. Plus, you had a long day with your first, was this your first day back at school?
No.
You were back yesterday?
Did you want to give me a hard copy, or did you want to email me, or what do you
Okay,
think?
so no, yeah, if you give me my handwriting, then we'll just go with that.
Well, thanks for coming out, Tim. Did you bring the goodies again?
Yeah,
Thank you. Can I take one for Ed too?
please do, please take as
Okay.
many as are there.
So what I did was, I just started here,
Okay, good.
add these discussions, and I renumbered them, A. We got A, B, C. D and E, and then there's a F.
Okay,
So, and then this, if you can't read it, it says, Tim asked about public records regarding agenda items, requests, how the public records. And Chris, that we would look at.
okay.
Check it.
Okay, cool.
Can't read any of that, let me know.
Sure.
Red buttons.
I'll figure it out, or I'll call you.
Or listen to the tape and give your answers back.
Right.
When do you think you're gonna open up the? Or is it not even a matter of discussion? For the town council meeting?
I'm missing out.
When do you think they're gonna open up the room for the? town council meeting?
Don't even.
To enjoy.
Open up the.
Well, you don't used to be.
Oh, have you all heard about the change of venue for town council? No. We're gonna, especially for the next few meetings, just because we're feeling the inadequacy of this room for, coming off the pandemic and such. And as it always was, a challenge. We're going to, meet at Camp Hill Church So there's gonna be a lot of, public notice about that for the next town council meeting, which is this coming Monday. And those variances of the hilltop are gonna come up, so.
Go ahead and shut it all down.
Oh, yeah.
You need everybody, yeah.
One of us, you know,
Keep that shut down.
recording.
Okay. Shut down anyway. Shut down now. You don't have any.
We just tattoo this. off.
Yeah, maybe.
Like, hold this.
It's something about church